Lonesome Lands podcast, Lonesome Report. Shad is missing a mustache and a tooth.
Yeah, I am.
And what did you say? You may not have you're not working with clarity. He's also been on a week-long bender of drugs and who knows what else.
Easy, easy.
You
I've
want to
taken
explain?
a lot of Tylenol. Yeah, I had a tooth crack on me, and I think it cracked like a year ago because I felt something different in there a year ago, and me and the dentist could not find the crack. And then this last week, after our last podcast, it just kind of my jaw swelled up and it went to throbbing. And I'm like, okay, I've got an abscess. Let's go get it taken care of. Well, of course, it happened on Labor Day weekend, so they weren't in on Monday. So my dentist called me in some antibiotics, and I went and found my wife's drugs from when she had a surgery and Tylenol, maybe a little whiskey, and it took all three of them to cut the pain. But anyway, I went in yesterday and got that thing chiseled out. It took about an hour and a half to chisel it out because it was deeply embedded in there, and they didn't get all of it. And I didn't know you could leave a little piece of tooth in there, Jim.
I
And
should know better than to ask you to explain.
he said, I'm not chasing it. So it's still in there. My jaw's sore, but I feel a lot better. All right.
Yeah.
I'm done.
You may not have clarity, but you'll have no lack of explanations.
I always have plenty to say.
All right, let's get into it. The biggest news of the week that nobody this is how what we do here. The biggest news that nobody's talking about. And mostly what we talk about is the cattle business, and
Mhm.
the United States is no longer the number one beef producer in the world.
Right.
And that seems like really big news to me. And the guys at National Beef Wire put that out there. It came from a USDA report, and um, yeah, nobody seemed to pick it up. I mean, it made a lot of rounds on Facebook, but um, yeah, the Brazil has overtaken America as the world's largest beef supplier.
Hmm. First time in history.
Yeah, and so I guess, I mean, how do we get here? You know, we went over a lot about JBS in the past, but if you haven't been listening, JBS is the world's largest meat packer. They came into the U.S. using illegally obtained funds, and bought some Swift, which was, I think, the third or fourth largest beef packer in the U.S. at the time. Eventually, they became the number two. I think number two and number one. Some years they're the biggest beef producer, and some years it's Tyson, but they're kind of neck and neck with uh, being the biggest
Either
beef.
way, they're the world's largest meat
Yeah,
producer.
into their owners went to prison for bribing 1,800 government officials. They've been fined $3 billion. They used a U.S. real estate, a Manhattan apartment, to bribe some Brazilian official. At the time, they were bribing all these U.S. officials. They got rid of the mandatory country of origin label in the U.S. You, the U.S. government officials got rid of the mandatory country of origin labeling right around the same time that JBS just so happened to be giving millions of dollars to Brazilian officials. I guess U.S. bribery is somewhat legal through lobbying. Um, but yeah, here we are. Number two, with America First policy, we're all working for America first, and now we're second.
Yeah, and they also partnered up with a lot of colleges and universities. For example, Colorado State University, when they gave them $12 million. JBS gave the college $12 million to create the innovative food hub there at Colorado State University. They're now listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They're in every facet of American life, and they don't seem to be slowing down at all. And for the first time, You know, they've overtaken us in pounds. But also for the first time, Jim, I hear, you know, uh, loyal producers saying, this isn't good. This is kind of scary. And one of them said, JBS is fast tracking us with the help of others to vertical integration. Had an order buyer tell me this week, this is our hog moment, Shad. This is our hog moment. So it's something to be really concerned about. That report came out on the USDA's August WASDE report, which is the World Agriculture Supply and Demand Estimates report. And it is, U.S. beef production is projected to be at 25.9 billion pounds. And what happened this year or this month was Brazil overtook us at 26.23 billion pounds.
Yeah, and so if you look at like just the last 5 years, so and then what's amazing to me, the most amazing part about this deal,
Mhm.
I'd seen this report on National Beef Wire. They have a daily newsletter. They're also it's DV auction, Corbett Wall. It's all kind of the same outfit.
Yeah,
But yeah, so this comes out in the newsletter, and I had seen it. The Facebook post had a lot of likes and shares and all that stuff on it. But then I just typed in, and this is from August 31st, so a few days ago. And then I type in Google, Brazil overtakes US in beef production, and the number one link that comes up in Google is the National Beef Wire's Facebook post, meaning it hasn't
really.
been reported
That's
in
the
the
only
media at
place it's
all,
been reported.
which is
Hmm.
crazy. Lonesome Lands should have done their own, I guess. But I mean, here we are. I kind of
Well,
save
that's what we're
everything.
doing right now, bro.
Yeah, but and they list the years, and so if you go the past 5 years, it looks like the Brazil has added billions of, I think this be billions of pounds? It's
Correct.
26.23
It's pounds.
billion pounds. So they've added 5 million in the past 5 years, and the U.S. has went from 27.3 to 25.9, so around a billion
The
they've
important
reduced.
part of that is that we need to really put forth is that in 25 years, we have gone from producing 12, almost 13 billion pounds a year more down to this year, 25 years later, we're down 24, a quarter of a billion pounds below them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has never happened before in history.
Yeah, just
And
last year we were up 0.97 billion.
yeah,
So we were almost a billion pounds
uh,
more, and
in
this
one
year
year. Yeah,
we're down 0.24. So we've lost a 1.24 or
correct.
1.21, I guess, billion pounds in 1 year.
And they've been listed on the New York Stock Exchange. This
Yeah.
conversation reminds me of when our friend Glenn Beck had me on his show, and I distinctly remember him saying, um, "We should be feeding the world, and we're not." And I said, "We could feed the world, but there's been so much infiltration of these other things that we are no longer the stronghold." And we know that in 2023 we became a net food importer for the first time in history. And so there's a lot of first time in histories being talked about now. And this is a threshold that I don't think is good for the America First policy. And I don't think it's good for national security, Jim, to be honest.
Right. And so, I mean, what you have to look at when something like this comes along is how do we get here?
Right.
It's important. I mean, it's been kind of a telling week, I guess, for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, which coincidentally also controls the beef checkoff. And cattlemen pay into this. They're forced to pay into this beef checkoff to promote U.S. cattle,
U.S.
and the
beef.
same people that they're forced to to send the money to are the ones continuously lobbying against a country of origin label.
Mhm.
And I would say M Cool is at the top of the list for a mandatory country of origin label. So the U.S. beef consumer knows where they're buying their U.S. beef.
If there ever
Um,
was a time, it's right now. We have all these circumstances piling up. We are now producing less than Brazil. We have the screwworm at the border. If there was ever a time the American should have the choice, the freedom to choose because of a mandatory country of origin label, it is right now. This could be benefiting us right now.
and the issues with Brazil are almost like too many to get into. But I mean,
Oh,
over the
so
past 10
complex.
years, they've bribed health officials to send the U.S. tainted meat. We actually
Mhm.
banned importing any Brazilian meat for a number of years because they did that. They hired one of the biggest, the head of what is it, animal health, the animal health department at USDA. They hired him to be their chief inspector. In the same At the same time, they were allowed to ship meat into the U.S. The whole situation with Brazil is so corrupt. So, and it's just convoluted. I mean, when you talk about the owners of JBS went to prison for 3 years. They bribed 1,800 government officials. Just this week, the week that Brazil overtakes the U.S. in becoming the U.S. beef producer, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association president is lobbying and going into to the media talking about how we need to now open the border to Mexico. During the same week, it comes out that Mexico is now the a larger importer of Brazilian beef than the U.S.
Right,
Which has a lot of people scratching their head. Well, we've banned because we have this major tariff against Brazilian beef
right.
that Trump just instituted here within the last month or two.
Correct.
And so we have a big tariff on Brazilian beef. Brazil is now importing all of this meat into Mexico, which, by the way, has a big glut of cattle. Mexico has too many cattle, and now they're importing more and more beef from Brazil, which means, we're allowed to import beef from Mexico. I mean, the obvious thinking is Brazil is sending this beef into Mexico, and Mexico is sending it into the U.S. And the U.S. consumer still has no idea where the beef they're coming buying is coming from, unless they buy local. But if they're buying at the grocery store or restaurants or anywhere else, there is no mandatory country of origin label. And it just all kind of plays in together, I guess, of what's going on right now.
It certainly has made it very complex and hard to understand because that's big news. Mexico overtakes U.S. as second largest destination for Brazilian beef, but on the same side as that, Russia and Chile both also took more Brazilian beef than um, the Americans. So there is no doubt that Brazilian, I mean, it all makes sense that Brazil is leading the way in beef production. They're underregulated. They do not have to adhere to the standards that we have to adhere to. And they can send that all over the world unchecked, right? So I'd be, after I think it was 2017, wasn't it, that they sent the tainted meat, the rotten meat all over the world? We needed to be real careful on that. But it's not just Mexico. I mean, it's Russia and Chile. Um, Man,
And the
Cool is
issues with Brazil too.
really cool.
Apparently, JBS just controls the entire. Like, I got a text from somebody this week that said a Brazilian rancher was here and was blown away by it. The thought of a sale barn, like he thought you just delivered your cattle to the lot. Apparently, they just deliver their cattle and hope to get a check. Like there's no negotiating. There's no anything. It's just they send them a check for their cattle, and they don't have any idea. I mean, it's definitely ran by one corporation, so there is no free market.
No, there's no free market. And if it's anything like, Argentina or Australia, those, my experience was with Argentina, went to the largest sale. You can't call it a barn because it's not indoors, but the largest cattle auction in the world. I forgot what it was called. It is in the capital city there. But what they do is they have catwalks over the top of all of these pins, and they'll put, say, 50 head in the pin that in the United States the regulatory people would go crazy over how they stuff them in there, and then everybody stands above that, and you might have five, you might have four, you might have three, you might have five, you might have two bidders on one pin, and the auctioneer stands and he auctions those off, and then they go to the next pin and the next pin and the next pin, and meanwhile, I think they sell 100,000 head a week there. This is in Argentina, and these trucks are they're the old straight decks, what we used to use. They're just coming in, backing up, unloading. They crunch them in there, and it just happens every day of the week. And so I'm sure that's how it is taking place in Brazil. Absolutely zero competition.
Yeah, they do that. The same thing, I think, in Australia. I've seen how they run
Yeah,
things, and they stand above the pins, and
right.
then the bidders, yeah, only a handful or whatever.
So
Stay
that's
close to that
exciting.
microphone, man. You're going back and forth. You're gonna cause me all kinds of trouble editing this.
What'd you say?
I said stay close to the microphone. When you go, so here, I'll hopefully cut this out, but if I don't, if you ever hear
Okay,
somebody on a podcast say stay close to the microphone, it's because the sound goes up and down, and then when you try to keep it even, you have to clip it apart and then adjust the sound on each clip.
I
It's
feel
a
like
real
you're
pain in
chewing
the
me out.
ass. What's that?
I feel like you're chewing me out, so I'll just
No,
sit
I'm just
still.
explaining, I guess, in case I probably won't have time to edit this too much. Um, yeah, so I guess you talked about vertical integration. I guess to go back, how do we get to the point
How'd we
where
get here?
the National Cattlemen's, but this goes into the Mexican thing, like where the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, apparently their number one concern, while we have become the number two beef producer in the world, is getting these Mexican cattle into the U.S.
Yes.
Because what he said, there was it was Oklahoma Farm Report, I believe.
Yep, with Ron Hayes.
Yeah, and so what Colin Woodall, the CEO of National Cattlemen's Beef Association, said is when you step back and think about the course of 2025, we had a protocol that was in place in January, and that protocol was in place through May, where we were able to cross cattle while protecting ourselves from New World screwworm. It was a protocol that we were comfortable with. The Mexican government was doing a really good job of compliance with, and we know that we can balance trade and biosecurity. So this is the CEO of the organization that takes all our checkoff money, talking about how the Mexican government does a really good job of compliance with our protocols, and that was able to get the cattle across the border. Since that time, the border has been closed. It was opened back up, which the NCBA came out and said that the whole closure of the border was just a political decision. It wasn't science based. And then I think within a few days, the border got closed again because they found the New World screwworm closer to the border,
And that was
which
science
goes
based.
into what this dope is talking about. These protocols. The reason the border got closed is because this screwworm and these flies are getting closer and closer to it. Um,
Yeah. So
and
when he says the Mexican government was doing a really good job of compliance with, and we know that we can balance trade and biosecurity, and yet here we are with the screwworm, no doubt less than 300 miles from the U.S. Mexico border. So who was doing a good job with compliance? Who failed here?
yeah, and that's the whole thing. Yeah, he's praising this Mexican government,
Yeah,
who is the number one reason why this whole thing is coming north anyway.
exactly.
This thing it comes across the Darien Gap, which is south of Mexico, and the U.S. is the one pumping all these sterile flies to control this thing, and then it gets across and it just keeps coming more and more, and now we're going to spend $1 billion to try to keep this thing down there, and what is Mexico doing? We keep hearing about like
What have they ever done? We're the ones that have
right,
paid for all the mitigation on the screwworm fly for the last, since 1974. That the program actually started in the 60s. And since 74, we've paid for it all. We've built everything. We run the partnerships. And so I say, we got a problem here. What he's
Yeah.
saying doesn't make sense.
And this big DC lobbyist has no problem with Mexico, but he thinks that we need to open our border up.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do we get to the point where all these cattle feeders, these major, you heard just this week that there are empty lots in West Texas,
Yes.
right? And that
Yes.
some of the lots are pretty much closed because
They're
they need all of these Mexican cattle.
That's right. That
And
last turn of Mexican cattle is out. They're done.
right,
So they've got this very strange dynamic. I see it as a triangle in my mind where you have the Mexican people who have these cattle lining up on the south side of the border, needing in. I hear over 1 million head at least. And then you have, and so they want the cattle in. They need that trade with the U.S. And then you have the Texas corporate feeders out there in far west Texas, and their only job is to provide this service of feeding Mexican cattle, and so they're needing the cattle because the last turn of cattle is out. And then you have the cow calf guy in America who is enjoying these wonderful prices and just so grateful and thankful for where they're at. And he's a part of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association who is saying we got to get this border open. This is the strangest thing I've ever encountered, I think.
and then we got Shad Sullivan in the middle of it, who's supposed to be buying cattle, right, in the next
Listen,
month.
if it's on me, let's just talk about me for a minute. As a stalker guy, I'm in a position now where I want those cattle to go lower, right? Because I've got to buy and I need to make money doing it. But I preach the America First policy, and therefore I'm dedicated to the America First policy and the American people. I want what's best for our cattle guys. I'm not the only one that sees that way. I mean, I think we all want America to prosper, but are we going to prosper at the risk of just inviting the screwworm in? I mean, to me, when I read this article from Ron Hayes and Colin Woodall, I'm like, whose side are they on? Are they America First people? Do they? I mean, is it that easy to be bought off, Jim? I
But
don't know what's going on here.
and
It's hard for me to fathom all this.
you brought up also at the beginning, like this, someone one of your friends, I guess, brought up that this is our hog moment, meaning this is the moment that the corporations take complete control of the entire industry. And now the cow calf guys are probably like, well, how's that going to happen? Because we're finally making money, but the people you're selling those cattle to have to make money. And this goes back even to the first thing we talked about, how we're down over the past 5 years, we're down over 1 billion pounds of beef. And over the past 5 years, we've lost 107,000 small farm cattle and farm and ranches that raise cattle. And so, I mean, the less players involved, the more vertically integrated it gets. And what these markets are doing now, there's going to be less players involved,
Okay. So
right?
we have that. We have the buy cost issue. The buy cost issue is enormous. It's gonna put a lot of people out because they're gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna sell my herd. We've gone over this before. I'm gonna sell my herd on the high, and it's gonna be hard for me to get back in, right? And so we're right there. And then on the other side of this, you have I said last week in a post that this was going to be an exposure moment for those who have AMAs or cost plus partnerships or profit sharing partnerships with the corporate feed yards because the costs are so high. Say a guy like me, say if I ran 5,000 head and I'm going to step out there and buy, you know, 4 and 5 weights for $2,000 and that's what they're going to cost me. Well, there's a $10 million buy cost. Few people have access to that kind of money in on as an independent producer, right? So that's going to expose a lot of these partnerships. And so that's where you get the vertical integration part,
Right,
right?
because it pushes you to get into those partnerships, right?
Absolutely.
As an
If I want to
independent producer,
if I
you
want to
have to now
stay in,
partner
that's right.
with a
That's right.
corporate feed yard and able
You
to
have to
be a
partner with the guy that's got the money
yeah.
and the promise, right? Because at the end of the day, um, the less the fewer people that are in the business is less competition. The less competition means there's fewer people working hard to buy your cattle. Then you're stuck in a position where, hey, if I want to pay the bills, I got to do something, right? And that's what this moment is going to expose.
And that's what you mean by the hog. We're in the hog moment.
The
Now, the
hog
hog
moment.
moment was a complete and total market crash, which we've had over the past,
It's the captive supply.
right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But and that keeps going to where whoever whoever you partnership has to partner with the person above them, and there
Exactly.
you are vertical, right?
There,
Right.
exactly.
And so when you get down to who you're partnering with, it puts restrictions on what you they want you doing, and then you can put
Correct.
restrictions on the cow calf guy, and then everything is
Correct.
kind of lined up to where the person at the top can control the entire
I.e. beef on dairy.
yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Uniformity, the march to uniformity.
Yeah. And that is why we brought up beef on dairy is because they control every aspect of that supply chain.
They're an example of that. Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely.
And that goes back to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. While all this is going on, they're promoting beef on dairy pretty much consistently.
They're promoting everybody except independent ranchers.
Yeah.
If you're a conformer, they're promoting you. If you are a non-conformer and you want a true blue square market, an open market, capitalistic society, freedom to produce what the consumer wants and wants to create a market for, they're against you. I mean, this article just it kind of livens me up, even with a hurt tooth, because I'm like, whose side is he on? Is he not an America loving cattleman? I mean,
No, he's not. I mean, when you talk about whose side is he on, he worked his way up through Cargill, and Cargill got the chance to put in a CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, and they knew their guy.
I'm
He's a
pleading
Cargill
to
guy. He's a corporate ag. I mean, more than corporate beef, he's just corporate ag guy.
I'm pleading to the independent producers to take your money away from that lobby. And I'm pleading to the consumers of the United States of America to demand USA beef. Everywhere they go, find out where that beef's come from. Hopefully, we can get mandatory country of origin labeling in. That could help us right now, help the consumer choose what they want to choose, even if it's a little higher.
And
The time is
producers
the time is now.
and producers who've had this, smoke blown up their ass and who went along with it about this mandatory country of origin labels bad for producers.
Yeah.
Well, look at where we are.
Yep.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
right.
you're getting more money, but what's going to end up happening? If you have to look at, we are now the number two beef producing country in the world.
What good is more money when you don't have the longevity?
Yeah,
When you're
because
just a
everybody,
serf.
and there's been a report I just saw on National Beef Wire that the we are not growing the U.S. herd. Um, it's not expanding. People are not saving. People are not trying to build back the herd that they had a few years ago. So get used to second place, I guess.
That sure don't sound like America first to me.
Um, how do you fix it? I guess we talk about how we get here. How do we I mean, we talked about mandatory country of origin
Well, I
labeling.
think I think honestly, mandatory country of origin labeling is one of the most important issues to help start fixing that. Number two, I think we have to have the checkoff reform because there is so much money going into the pocket of the lobby, and whether they say they're not getting that or not, that money is influencing the corporate capture. It is. It just is. There's no way around it. And so we have to reform that. or take it away, rebuild it. Whoever sees that in a different way than it is right now, fine. Let's talk about it. We have to make Congress understand that we cannot have any more acquisitions and mergers by the corporate cartel. We cannot do that, and we have the laws to keep that from happening. We have to have USDA understand the corruption and how the money flows and where it's going and who's partnering with who and all of these things that matter, even though it might seem small at the moment, it all adds up. Because at the end of it, if a small organization is pushing an agenda through public-private partnerships or whatever, however they're bribing the governmental institutions, they all add up. And pretty quick, you have this profound control of the organizations of the agencies, and we're seeing that. And you just brought up a great point. Well, where are we at now? What is the fruit of what is happening? Well, we're here. We're watching it in real time. We're watching a man who claims to be for the independent rancher and beef producer across the nation to take the side of the Mexican government and say, we've got to open this border because Mexico's doing a good job of compliance. And I say to them, who in the hell got us here? You are the people overseeing this compliance. You are the ones leading the way in trade organization, agenda pushing, policy making. This is under your watch. And here we are. It's the
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah, and that screwworm started coming north during the Biden administration, and it's NCBA decided their priority was the same as the Biden administration. I just posted a video going back over that, but it was climate neutrality. I mean, that was the goal of Biden's USDA, and it was the goal of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And now here we are. So,
One of these days, people are going to figure out that collectivism is not a good idea for freedom lovers.
and I posted, go back to Checkoff. I posted that video where I'm talking about the four ads in one magazine. And
Yeah,
so for some reason now, in the Checkoff, I get Checkoff ads all the time in my like Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Do you see those?
I do.
Yeah. And so like the last person they need to be advertising to is me. But I got this Checkoff deal and I started watching it. And it's a chef in a kitchen and
Yep.
he's cooking macaroni and cheese and French fries. And he's putting a little bit of beef on top of each of them.
I've seen
What
it.
the hell are we doing? We're teaching people how
Well,
to cook. We got checkoff dollars teaching people how to cook macaroni and cheese and French fries, and then sprinkle a little, eighth of a pound of ground beef on top.
the only thing I know is we got a hell of a nice kitchen out in DC, from what I understand.
I think it's in Denver.
Is it in Denver?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. I constantly hear this about people who've been to DC and been to that office.
Yeah.
If you've been in an ag group, you'll go to DC and you can tour all the different lobbyists or, association, you got the corn growers and all that. And they go around to all the different associations and then they go to NCBA and they're blown away by the wood paneling and the high back chairs and the
Yeah.
rooftop patio. And I
Right.
mean, they're just living in luxury,
Overlooking the Potomac
right?
River.
And then we just hand them this money. And so hopefully producers are seeing the light.
I hope
And we'll
so.
keep that going, I guess.
And really, producers are the ones that have to. It's all of us, the producer and the consumer who believes in independence, have to keep these policymakers in the government accountable, and then we have to keep them at our hands length and say, "Hey, this isn't right. This is truly what's happening." We have to go to social media and tag those. Secretary Rollins, this needs fixed. Blah blah blah. It goes all. We just technology is our friend. And so we have the great ability to get to these people better than we ever have before. So we have to utilize that. And if we're gonna sit at this desk like I'm doing right now and say I'm America first, I'm pro America, I'm gonna back it up with my talk and my walk. And so you have to become an advocate. I mean,
Yeah, and
I
I
think
think we don't want to be complete bummers today. And so to say what we
I
need
think
to be
this is
doing
exciting.
is I think we are going down the right path, right? We have an America First administration. We have more and more people who want healthy, nutritious food, and they're finding out that beef is the number one place for it. If we could stay off of the Checkoff YouTube channel and not think about macaroni and cheese and French fries, that goes into, Sean Baker was denied the main
Yep.
guy who
Yep.
preaches all the health benefits of
Beef.
what he calls a carnivore diet, which is mainly a beef eating diet. He
Hmm.
was denied Checkoff contract, and now we got this Yahoo that we're paying to show people how to cook macaroni and cheese. I mean, it's so stupid. But we have people that are realizing that and coming around, and I think we have a not completely bought off USDA and we're moving forward. And I think good things are about to happen. Hopefully, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
so.
we're on the upward.
Hey, listen, I'm sure it can go lower, but I don't know if it can or not. I mean, to me, what does that song say? When you hit rock bottom, you've got two ways to go: straight up and sideways. Let's go
I
up.
don't know that song. What is that song?
Yeah.
Sing a little bit to us.
Uh-uh.
We'll see how high and drunk you are today
I'm
on
not
your
really high
medicine.
or drunk today. I got a little pain in my
You're
tooth
just
and a
hurting.
swollen jaw. I'm good.
All right. What else you got?
Um, so let's
To go
do a
back 1 second. Why do you think
yes.
no one's reporting this? I mean, this isn't like a corporate deal. Like, why is no one reporting that U.S. has no longer the number one beef producer in the U.S.? I mean, that seems like a huge headline. That seems like it should be the national
Well,
news
it is
headline.
absolutely a huge headline in the agriculture world. But if you'll remember, when we became a net importer of food in 2023, nobody recognized that except one guy at who does statistics at RCAF USA. He's the one that alerted me to it, and I'm like, "Holy cow,
Who's
this is
that?
crazy!" Bill Bullard.
Oh, okay. Well, you should give him props, not just
I
leave
did
it a
give him
mystery for
props.
everybody.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was a big piece of news, just like this is. To answer your question, Jim, I don't know. I don't know why that doesn't matter um, to people. Have we lost our luster to be number one in the world? I mean, when we're number one, when America's number one in the world is a better place. There's no doubt about it. We help more people. We're forced to help more people. We volunteer more than anybody. We've been the most favored nation. And I'm sorry, number two just doesn't cut it for me. I don't like it.
All right. Before you get going, to go
Uh-huh.
back on last week, what we talked about was an email that got leaked to certain people,
Yeah,
the Beef Alliance, which is
right.
the largest corporate cattle feeders in the industry, the guys who are dying for this border to get open. And to go back into that a little bit, after we got going, and then Carrie Stadheim did a great article from Tri-State Livestock,
Hmm.
and I'll try to link that in here too, because it had all kinds of information. One of the things that it said, it was that I'll quote the article. North Dakota State Veterinarian Dr. Ethan Andress said it is common for state veterinarians to be provided information that is not meant to be made public. Um, and so what those email leaks were is that a CDC, Center for Disease Control, is that right?
Yeah.
They had contacted state veterinarians, or state veterinarians had asked them about this issue, which a screwworm was in a human. That human got sent to a Maryland hospital, and they were taken care of. And if you look at it, I think over the past couple years, there's been someone with the
Yeah,
screwworm
every
case,
year.
yeah,
Right.
come to the U.S. So it's really not that big a deal, but it was something that the news could have moved the markets, and it was kept secret for a couple of weeks. But what the CDC said, or what this email said that was leaked from the Beef Alliance, which are the biggest corporate cattle people, is that they said the CDC also notified Beltway agriculture stakeholders of the positive human New World screwworm case, meaning, okay, so it said the Maryland state veterinarian, so state veterinarians were notified by the CDC and
Mhm.
Beltway agriculture stakeholders. And so what the Beltway is, I actually looked up because when I think of Beltway, I think of DC lobbyists. Like Google defined Beltway, commonly referred to the Capitol Beltway encircling Washington, D.C. And a metonym to describe the insiders of U.S. federal government, meaning it's DC insiders. So why in the world is the CDC keeping this secret and only notifying DC insiders? And when
Okay,
you think about the
let
beef
me ask you
industry,
one question
yeah, go ahead.
before you get out. Okay, a lot of people had that confused Beltway agriculture stakeholders as Beltway beef, which is NCBA.
Right. Well, that's what you
But
think about when you think about DC insiders.
but that's not what it was.
No, it wasn't just strictly Beltway beef.
Okay.
Beltway beef is like the Twitter account of
Right.
NCBA's lobbyist arm.
Right.
But that's why they're called that. So the Beltway is DC insiders. When you think of
Okay.
DC insiders in the beef industry or cattle industry, it's NCBA.
Right.
And so, and that I think you and us and Carrie, that were the only people that really talked about that email getting leaked as far as like ag media. You know, there was articles about the human case of screwworm, but I don't think they talked about how the largest corporate cattle feeders were the first ones to be notified multiple, days before the CDC announced it or anyone announced it. And we talked about on the last one that we made some implications about the USDA, but going back from everything that was written is this was a CDC deal and USDA had no like Carrie's article talked about how the USDA just stayed out of it because it was a human case and it had nothing to do with agriculture. And so the CDC was the one in charge of the information, I guess,
And
whether
the
to
way I
make it.
read that last week was that if the CDC has a positive case, then this came from the Reuters, the first people they have to contact is the state health departments, and then they have to contact the state veterinarians, the way I understood it in
Yeah.
that article.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, USDA really wasn't. I mean, I'm sure they knew about it, but it wasn't their job to either make it public or keep it secret or whatever. But the
Right.
one thing that was talked about in these emails was that Colin Woodall, the guy we've been talking about, CEO of NCBA, is this is the corporate cattle feeding organization is reassuring their members that Colin Woodall is working with a professor at Texas A&M to come up with a
Hmm.
report showing the impacts of the border closure, and he's going to present that report to Brook Rollins' team, which is the Secretary of Agriculture and her team. And what I take from that is they are trying to put together something to help them get this border open. That's me, and that's my uh, jump to
Well,
conclusion, I guess.
I don't know. My take from it is that Secretary Rollins and her team in the Trump administration should already have that data. That should already been done.
Yeah, I
I
know,
mean,
but he's going to
we talked
present it.
about it. We talked about it being science based. I mean, NCBA come out and said science based. TCFA, we appreciate the science based decisions, all of this stuff. So, in order to make those informed decisions of shutting and opening the border, they've already got these science based studies,
Yeah, but
right?
what this will be is an economic study of the impact, showing how horrible this has been for consumers and for cattle producers. And he's going to present it in, yeah, USDA has it, but it hasn't been presented by Colin Woodall in a way that will help the Beef Alliance, right? And so that's what that is. And
Right.
on both of those things, huge news to me, right? Like the Beltway insiders were given this information, and RCAF once again comes out and says needs to be investigated. We deserve to know who the Beltway insiders were that were given the information and why they were given the information before the public. right?
So let me ask you a question. When they give that information out, like instead of just the Beltway insiders getting that, how would they disseminate that information otherwise? Just in a press release for everybody to see all at once?
Yeah. Or a press conference or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But instead, it was a Reuters article that talked about these emails, and that's how
Right.
everybody found out about it. And then the
Right.
USDA, after that came out, USDA made a statement, but and then the CDC director gets fired a few days after, and then she won't leave. So there's all kinds of issues with the CDC apparently, and
Did
I
she
don't
get
think
fired over that,
no, I
Jim?
don't. Well, a lot
No.
of people like in the cattle business kind of inferred that right away when they saw this, but then now it's came out that they're like Biden holdovers and they're insane people that are working at
Great.
the CDC. Have you seen the pictures of that guy?
I have not.
Oh, he's like, yeah, I don't. It's gross to
You mean
even get into. Like he's
he looks
wearing this
gross?
leather outfit and these masks and all this stuff, and he was this big wig at the CDC, and now he's going on like a press tour talking about how terrible Trump is and how, oh no, it's actually against RFK Jr. And how terrible he is and how he shouldn't be in there and all this stuff. But
Well,
there
what
were,
is the lesson we can learn here, Jim?
what do you mean?
The lesson that we can learn here and use this as an example is for USDA to get all those holdovers out as well.
Oh, right. How was I supposed to guess that out of that? I was talking about some pervert at CDC.
Yeah, but you said they're all holdovers, and I
Yeah,
believe that
exactly.
because a lot of those people have been there for 25, 30 years, and it's time to get rid of them because they're all ideologues by now.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
What else you got?
That's interesting. Okay, so a little Brook Rollins update. We kind of forgot to do that last week. So, in a press release dated August 28th, Brook Rollins comes out, Secretary Rollins comes out and says USDA expands efforts to strengthen rural food animal veterinary workforce and protect animal America's food supply. Now, one thing that we have been having a lot of trouble is getting these kids back. Well, first of all, large animal vets are hard to find because nobody's going to college to be a large animal vet because we have fewer rural kids on the ranch. So we have a fewer selection that want to go and be a large animal vet. And so that
Also,
trickles down.
can I
And
interrupt?
yeah,
We also have more people. The money is in the small animals. I wish I had a.
sure.
There's a Corb. Have you heard the Corb Lund song about the talking veterinarian blues?
Mm-mm.
I'll have to look it up. Maybe I'll post the lyrics. It's pretty good. But
You make
Fido's,
a
that's where the money's at. It's treating Fido.
Well, you're right. And that is a really good point because I can remember 20 years ago, we had a ranch in Nebraska and my dad was sending me heifers up there and I was managing it for him. And they'd send me these heifers and we'd spay them right off the truck. We'd spay them. And
Meaning,
I,
for those not familiar, Spain
yeah,
is taking out
it's
the.
just like taking the ovaries out so they don't cycle. And it'd be just like having castrating a bull. You'd have a steer. And it reduces pressure on the neighboring bulls and keeps them from getting pregnant and all that stuff. But anyway, I can remember making a deal with that veterinarian out of Ogallala, Nebraska, and I said, "How much is this going to cost me, Rich?" And he says, "It's going to cost you $3.57." And of course, we were sending 1,500 head up there, and I'm like, "Holy cow, that's going to be a lot of money." And he goes, "Well, just to put it in perspective, I charge $300 for a cat." And I'm like, let's just keep on going. So that
Yeah, I mean
made,
that's a great
yeah,
perspective though
it
too.
is. It is.
Um,
Anyway, yeah, so there's fewer options for these kids who want to be vets. It's hard to get people out in rural America to become vets. So she is going to uh, create a partnership. Now, I have a little problem with this partnership, but this is going to be a veterinary services grant program which will allow for expanded capabilities to serve the livestock sector. This one is in rural Mississippi. They're going to consolidate the USDA office with the Rural Development Office, the Farm Service Agency, and the Mississippi Farm Bureau, which I have a huge problem with. I don't think Mississippi Farm Bureau should be being provided a office at the taxpayers' terms. I don't like that, but it is a really good idea. They're going to create these scholarships to get people back in the rural veterinary realm, and I think it's a great deal. So we need to talk about more about those public-private partnerships, Secretary Rollins, that are not good. The other press release that I thought was interesting is uh, she opens up the next step in the roadless rule decision. Um, they're going to rescind the roadless Biden era roadless rules on federal lands, and they're calling for a comment period that will last from August 29th, a few days ago, to September 29th. And so I think that we need to rescind it totally. There's going to be a lot of hunting groups and environmentalists going to put up a hell of a fight, but we need a way to mitigate these problems we have on federal lands in the forests, in the Forest Service and BLM. So if you haven't seen that, that is going to be, I think it's the reason I like it is because it's going to allow for, uh, remember when he signed the executive order unleashing America's energy independence?
Explain the roadless rule too. Like people are hearing that, but they might not know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, it's really the roadless rule under the Biden administration. They closed no roads in these on these federal lands. No access, no driving, no uh, hiking. Getting it's all about not having people in these forests and on these federal lands. And that came under the Biden administration. So, in other words, we don't have access to fires and fire mitigation. We don't have access to energy and drilling. We don't have access to all of these things. Now, this is going to more so affect Alaska than any other state. There are state specific rules that apply to Colorado and Idaho, and they used what they call the Administrative Procedure Act, and those states would not be affected by this rule. There's 45 million acres of roadless forests and federal lands. And if we're going to unleash America's energy independence, we have to be able to get to those natural resources. And so that's what would help here. And my friend Sean Pond, Commissioner Sean Pond out of Montrose, Colorado, or Western Colorado, has been a great big advocate for property rights. And he says, let's rescind this roadless rule. So,
Yeah,
uh,
Harriet Hageman, also a big
yep,
promoter of the
yep,
rescinding the rule.
yep.
But Meat Eater, who I've talked about before,
Mm-hmm.
and these big hunt groups
Mm-hmm.
have come out with their campaigns. They have all this wind at their back after shutting down this public land sale, and they're just going to keep hammering this deal. And I don't, it's something we'll get into more, I think, in the future. Like
Yeah.
the hunting community. I was talking to, we were talking about this earlier, but and the agriculture community have kind of common enemies in the Humane Society and PETA and these nutty groups, but they seem to be siding more and more with the anti-agriculture people. There's this outfit called, I told you about it, Western Watersheds or something like that.
Yep.
They are
Sure was.
100%, their goal is to get livestock off of
That's right.
federal lands.
They are a
That,
bad group.
yeah, and I think more and more of those kind of people are infiltrating these conservation type of groups,
Hmm.
and they see they're like, well, if there's no cattle, think about how many elk there will be,
Hmm.
you know, and they're like this meat eater guys who, I listen to, and
I love it. I love
right,
listening
yeah,
to it.
yeah, it's really informational about public lands and property
And
and
just hunting.
yeah, wildlife and
Yeah.
conservation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you always have to remember their number one goal is to hunt, right? They like they don't really care about ranching. They're like their industry is the hunting industry. And so their goal is shooting elk and ducks and all of these kind of things. And so, if when these Western watershed type of people who are like, hey, look at how many elk you can have, or how many pronghorn there'll be, or how many whatever if we get rid of cattle off of public land, it's pretty enticing to them too.
Yeah, I really feel that what we saw starting in well, a long time ago, but especially in 2010 under the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef, where we saw this infiltration of, say, the World Wildlife Fund, the Nature Conservancy, and all of these other groups into our production organizations. It's not just the cattle organizations or the beef organizations. They've also infiltrated into the cotton organizations. I've been screaming down here about how the World Wildlife Fund has no business being a part of the Cotton Association, Texas Cotton Growers. But my point is that the same people, you said we have kindred enemies, right? The hunting groups and the ag groups. Well, here's the deal. The enemies, and you took for example the Humane Society of the United States and PETA. They are our enemies, and they are anti-animal, anti-human activists. And but they're the same exact people that create these organizations like the World Wildlife Fund and the Nature Conservancy, who have infiltrated into these organizations. And so because of that, they are also infiltrating into the hunting organizations. And that's why you see the National Cattlemen's Beef Association um, partnering up with the World Wildlife Fund in the same organization or alliance that you see the Elk Foundation or the Ducks Unlimited people. It's all the same, right? Because it's all been infiltrated. And if they can beat us in agriculture, then they move over to the hunting at the same time. Why? Because they have the money and they have the manpower, but mostly it's the money that comes in globally. I think we figured out that the Nature Conservancy uh, drew in $800 billion. Was it billion or million over the 829 last year alone? They have access to this cash. So those public-private partnerships that we talk about, that's how they access these organizations and that's how they influence this. And so we have to be really careful because in all honesty, the rancher and the farmer should be on the same playing field and partnering up with the hunters. We all have that same ground level of go get your food, the meat eating perspective, should I say. And so we should be on a team. But what's happened is they've infiltrated, they've separated us. And my theory is that the next round of people that we have to really fight for property rights is going to be the hunters.
Hmm.
And it worries me because I am 100% pro hunting. I am not a hunter, but I am a very much pro hunting, pro Second Amendment, and I think responsible hunting is the best thing ever. But there is a lot of irresponsible hunters, which I don't like out there. But when they form these alliances and get in these big groups and they talk conservation, because that's the key word is they're going to use science-based and conservation. That's going to turn into a problem for producers on the land. We're already seeing it in Colorado with 82 and 98 ballot initiatives, 82 and 98, and the hiring of Nicole Rose Marino, who is a part of all of those groups and is pushing for all production to be taken off of state-owned lands. And we got our work ahead of us because once we all start turning on each other, Jim, it's going to be tough,
Yeah.
tough.
And I think also, be careful who you become friends with because when they
Sure,
get to like this Western watersheds, they're animal rights nuts. And so once they get rid of the cattle, if they can use the hunters to get rid of the cattle, they'll do
they'll
it.
do it.
But guess who they're getting rid of next? The hunters.
Well,
You
it's
think
the
they want
tyranny.
hunters on public land?
That's right. That's right. It's the tyranny has
Hell
no
no, they don't.
loyalty. It's the tyranny has no loyalty deal that I always talk about. And you have not only Western Watershed, you have the Western Landowners Alliance. They're partnered up with all of these organizations we're talking about. These alliances, man. If you have a trade organization that is thinking about partnering up in the name of money and conservation, you better be damn careful. Stop giving your money to these trade organizations. You have to be so careful here.
Yeah. Right on. I guess, oh,
That's
to add on to the Brook Rollins update,
mhm.
she's on it with Potter Valley Dam removal. I did a
Yeah,
podcast with Keely Cavello, American Unwon, and Brook Rollins has told on Twitter, she retweeted one of Keely's Twitter posts about how they're just shutting off the water to these farmers and ranchers. It's a subject we've talked about a number of times
absolutely.
on here in California, and I would love to see an America First USDA Ag Secretary go into California and start fighting that scumbag that's running everything.
Amen.
And so she's on
Yeah,
it. Let's
good,
hope she
great
gets
job
on
for
it.
great job on America Unwon, Keely
Yeah,
Cavell. She's, I feel bad because nobody's out there to help her. We're all here in the Central Plains, and California is a huge ag producing state, number one in a lot of cases. And we just standing from the outside looking in, we think that California is just a liberal hack hole, and it's not. California has some of the most beautiful and awesome productive lands and agriculture in America, and we need to help those people as we can.
right on. I think you said it on this podcast, Keely Cavello, an American hero.
She is
Remember you
absolutely
said
an
that?
American hero.
She
Absolutely.
saves those dams. She'll be
She's
one
one
hell
of the
of a
most
hero.
courageous people I know. She is
Right
a
on.
courageous human.
What else you got?
Well, that's about it, buddy. I'm going to Washington D.C. next week to advocate for the American Independent
Are we doing
Agriculturalists.
this from DC next week?
I don't know.
You probably
We
won't be
need
able to. You gonna
we
fly
need
with all your microphone? I ship it out there? What day are you gonna be in DC?
the 8th through the 11th.
Monday through Thursday. We have to do something.
You want to do it out there?
I suppose. Yeah, that'd be great, I think.
Can we do it on my phone?
I don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
That would be kind of awesome to do it in front of USDA.
Yeah. Or inside of there from Brook Rollins' office.
Well, how about you reach out to them?
Um, yeah, I guess we'll figure it out. Stay tuned. This week's late because Shad has a toothache, and next week he'll be in DC, screwing everything up. Um, I
I
guess
will I will tell you this. We've had a lot of rain in the southern plains and people are going crazy to get the wheat in. We're going to start getting it in. I know a guy that started planting yesterday, expecting a lot of grazing. There's a lot of moisture, a lot of heat. We're going to get that wheat up and going. Hopefully the bugs won't get to it. It's been known to happen. If we go back to 105 degrees, it might burn up, but boy, they're taking the chance because, wheat's not worth anything, and so they want to graze that stuff out. And I understand the situation. So
right on. You're gonna get into farming.
I've been farming every day. I even farmed yesterday with a broken tooth.
Hmm. Um, Taylor Swift's engaged. You pretty excited about that?
Um, I am
To get into the week's news, I guess
congratulations to
that's your
Taylor
top
Swift.
headline. Nobody cares that America's number two
Yeah,
and Brazilian
right,
beef is
right.
taking our top spot. They're too wound up about Taylor Swift. Do you see there's a college professor canceled his class because he couldn't focus because Taylor Swift had gotten engaged? University of
No,
Tennessee.
no, I didn't see that. Did he not want her to get engaged, or?
No, I think he's just a lazy piece of crap. Typical college. Do you remember being in college?
Yeah,
My college professors were the laziest, most worthless people. A number of them. Yeah, there are some good ones out there, but yeah, they didn't mind canceling class all the time. Overpaid losers. Not to put them all in one basket, but.
I actually had some great college professors who I really
Well, yeah.
respected and looked up to, and they believed in the America First policy and they believed in independent production. And those guys are all dead and gone.
Hmm. I had one really good one, and she was America first. You know where she was from? Russia. Journalism, journalism professor.
Wow.
Um, I guess. What else in the news? You see that guy grab that hat at the tennis deal? You didn't even see that? Oh. I will say one thing. My mother told me not to call you an idiot. I should be nicer to you. And you know what else happened? I called you an idiot because you're buying $20 salads. To be clear, we were talking about the price of things last week. And
Yeah.
Shad said he buys $20 salads at the Mexican joint. And
The
then I,
salad is the salad is $10, but I don't know if you know an unsweet tea now costs 3.50. Okay. So then
oh,
what do you have? You're at 13.50. And then you have taxes and a tip and you're at $20, dude.
I was gonna say I went to the local place and got like a sandwich deal with my wife this weekend or this week, and we have three kids and one's 3 year old. We don't eat lunch by ourselves, but I was out helping her get her classroom together. She's a school teacher, and then our daughter was watching the 3 year olds who were like, "Let's go get lunch." And I'm looking at the menu. I'm like, "Gosh, Shad is an idiot. I could get," and I don't. I usually just drink water at a restaurant. Um, and uh everything was like 11, $12 on the menu or whatever, and then I go to pay the bill for the both of us, 39.95 or something. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, he
see?
nailed it, $20 a person.
That's
But I
right,
was
buddy.
thinking too, you said you can't get food anywhere, like you can go down to Hy-Vee and get Chinese food for $11,
Now,
something
what
like
is
that.
high V?
Hy-Vee is our like the Midwest, well, they're based out of Iowa, but they've become kind of the Midwest grocery store.
Well,
But
you
they have
can,
like a Chinese counter in all the places. It ain't bad.
have you ever heard of Allsup's
Yeah. I've
convenience
been
store?
I've been to your country. You haven't been up to
Yeah,
mine.
we have Allsup's burritos, and you can buy them for about $1.50. And they've been made famous in song
Yeah.
across the country music. And you can eat pretty cheap there, but you're going to pay for it physically down the road.
Well, I think there's a cowboy poet, Dakota Robinson, Sarah Robinson, his wife, wrote some things for Lonesome Man's when I was starting out. And so I would follow him and he would make up some poems about the after effects of the all subs
Yeah.
burrito
Yep.
as a as a West Texan. Um
I know people that live in extreme southeast Colorado corner that will drive clear to Dumas, Texas, um, Cade Spitz, that to get an Allsup's burrito. They love them.
I've never had one. I'm too wary of them after hearing about the after effects. Have you ever been to do you have Casey's General Stores? Have you ever been to a Casey gas
Um,
station?
I think they have them in Mississippi, and I have been to one in Mississippi.
Yeah. That's the big gas station here, the where you guys have Bucky's, I guess. You guys.
Oh man, Bucky's is heaven on earth.
You
I
goofy
love
Texans,
Bucky's.
you just say the word and you're
Have you ever been to a
oh
Bucky's?
man. Yeah, I've been to Bucky's.
Oh my gosh, it's the best place. And I feel bad for those mom and pop uh gas stations on the corner because Bucky's has overtaken them, but it's like Texas, a Texan dream, right? Oh, they have the best beef jerky and the best brisket sandwiches. And if you need to buy your wife a mesquite cutting board, they've got them. They got everything.
It is pathetic. I think the mom and pop gas stations were gone long ago, but I don't know. I guess Griswold has a privately small family owned gas station, my hometown. So I only go there. I
Ordway,
don't go to Casey's if I'm ever in.
yeah,
I go
Ordway,
to the
Colorado has still it's called Ben's Gas House. It's owned by some very dear friends of mine, the Eichelberger family, and it's a full service gas station. And you can go in there. It feels like you're in 1950. They fill your car up, they wash your windows, they'll fix your tires. You go in and you say, "Can I have a soda and a candy bar?" And she'll sell you a soda and a candy bar for about $1.50 because they get your business. And it's super nostalgic.
I have never been to a full service gas stations.
Yeah.
I've never even they just come out and do it. What if you start doing
Yeah,
it yourself?
they come you can't. They have the control to the key control on the pumps, and they come out and they turn the key and they fill it up and they say how much you want to put in. Fill her up. You want to put in $10? They'll
What
put you in
town is this in?
$10. In Ordway, Colorado, my hometown. It's called Ben's Gas House, and it is probably, I would say Ben's Gas House has to be close to 80, 90 years old. Um, and it's pretty cool little place.
Well, Tiger Mart in Griswold, Iowa does not have full service, but it is a mom and pop shop. And their guy who started the Stephens, I can't remember what it used to be called, but we would buy all our fuel in there. And every
Mhm.
time I sold my 4-H calves, I think he bought every one of them.
Yeah, they do
So
the same thing. They deliver all of our fuel out to the ranch. We have them fix all of our tires. We buy most of our tires from them in Colorado. Obviously, I don't down here, but yeah, it's the patriarch of the operation was actually my dad's best friend, Gerald Eichelberger. He's a legend in the rodeo world. Should be in the Hall of Fame, PRCA Hall of Fame, and maybe that's coming. But they bought it years ago, and he just recently passed away from AML, acute myeloid leukemia, and he fought that for quite a while. And he we buried him about a month ago, and so their son took it over. He's a 35-year-old young man, and he's on his way to taking it on.
right on. Well, there we go. We start out by you raving about Buc-ee's, and we end up support your local gas station, support your
But
mom and pop,
totally
privately
agree.
owned, every local business in your town, support them. Quit going to Buc-ee's or Walmart or
I
Casey's
have to
even.
be really honest with you. Well, I haven't been to a Walmart in years, but I will tell you this. I went to Bucky's. We have a Bucky's 100 miles down the road, and I was late for buying Thea's Christmas gift last year. Bucky's had what I needed.
Your closest Buc-ee's is 100 miles away.
No, it's probably just 80. It's right across the road from Texas Motor Speedway, which is on Highway 114, which is where I live.
I figured there was more of them around. The
There's
way
a
you
brand
people
new one
rave at
in
them.
there's a brand new one in Amarillo, and there's a brand new one north of Denver. But once you get to Fort Worth and Dallas, there's quite a few of them
Yeah.
going southeast.
All right. I guess that's about all we got.
It's a good day.
Make America first again in beef production. That's the goal here, I guess.
That's right.
See you next week.
Amen and adios.